Thank you guys for coming. I know there's still people that are going to be coming in, but the attendants can let them in the door as they come. So super happy to be here. Some of you might have been at our previous session in this room half an hour or so ago on our global trends report. If you were, thank you for coming. Even bigger thank you if you stayed for the second part, which is equally important and equally interesting. We are here to launch our annual energy and now towers benchmark report. I am Tim Hatt. I'm an analyst with the GSMA Intelligence team. My colleague Emmanuel Colta is here. And we have like a really super great lineup of speakers. This is something we've been doing for over 5 years now. And really this is all about trying to track progress on energy efficiency in the telco sector, but equally to understand how to continue to drive improvements and where you need to target those, and ultimately having an evidence base to justify that. This year, though, it's a bit different because we're not just talking about mobile networks. We've brought in towercos, and we've partnered with some of the biggest towercos in the world to measure their energy efficiency, and we've got new metrics to track that. So we're looking at the active layer, we're looking at the passive layer. We're going to talk about both of those. We're going to talk about AI. Is that going to explode energy? Is it crazy? How fast does that happen? Can it actually be a good thing? All those kinds of questions that are topical and I think hopefully have practical relevance for you guys here. I'm going to just speak for about 8 or 9 minutes to give you some highlights from the research. We've then got 2 panels where we're going to delve into things in a little bit more detail. That's just a little bit about us, but you can check that out anytime. We love research, we love data, and we're trying to bring it to bear here with energy. So the study sort of footprint looks like this, and on this map, you can see these are the countries where we have data from and where we track it. It's not exhaustive across the industry. Yeah, please, again, people are filing in. Just take a seat wherever there's one available. It's not exhaustive across the sector, but we're at about 20% global market share. So it's representative, and this is covering some of the biggest countries in the world. We've got now close to 120 networks involved in this study. They're covering 1.5 billion people. And as I say, that's about 20% of the global market share. And actually, it's even higher when you take out multi-SIM connections. If you divide that into unique subs, it'd be a lot higher. So we're covering a good breadth of countries, and that gives us a good read overall, as in what's happening on average. It also gives us a good read about some of the regional differences. We know energy efficiency is a little bit more challenging in some parts of the world than others, especially the global south. Why is that? Is that changing? What's behind that? Can we, ameliorate that? Likewise, in Europe, what's driving some of the, superiority there in terms of the renewables access? These kinds of questions all come into play, but ultimately, we want to be able to make this as practical as possible. So I've got 2 slides on the mobile operators, and I've got 2 slides on towers, and then I'm going to hand it over to Emmanuel for the first panel. Whenever you talk about energy efficiency, you have to ask yourself, well, what metric are you actually measuring? And different people will have different approaches. We have a number of metrics. There is not just one North Star. But the biggest one we track, our sort of center of gravity, is this efficiency metric, and that's what we define as the kilowatt hours of energy to transfer a single gigabyte of data. And what we're showing on this chart is 2 things. Number 1, the change this year compared to last year, and then 2, what the distribution looks like across the sample set that we're working with. So when we look at the change, that's that bolded box there, and there's good news on that front. The number this year is about 0.08 kilowatt hours per gigabyte. If you take all of that aggregated data across the sector, that's down from 0.12 last year. So it's kind of like in golf, a lower number is better. That's what you want. You don't want it going up. So we're under par. That's a good move, and there's a lot of reasons behind that. Part of it comes down to core efficiencies. Part of it comes down to sort of innovations in the network performance AI has a role to play, and then, of course, renewables. The other side of the coin, and this is a little bit more mixed, is that there is still a really big range. So these red sort of this histogram, these red plots here, are anonymized data points of actual networks in the study. So you can see here, if I go down, down here, these are the best performing networks. And then as you get up into this range, it's a little bit more challenging. You see that scale is that kilowatt hour per gigabyte. And as much as most of the operators cluster in that range, 0.1 to 0.5, there are some massive outliers. And so the question is sort of what's behind that? Where are they? What's behind that? What's driving that? How do we get at that? Second point, we look at the distribution of energy in the network. We also look at the types of energy being used. So you can see on the left these pie charts. That's showing you the share of energy in the mobile operators that comes from grid power versus renewables versus diesel. Again, a lot of people are taking pictures. You can do that, but this is all on our website. It's free to access. So if you don't snip it here, don't worry. You're not going to miss out. The majority is still grid power. Renewables, we're kind of flat-ish up in regions overall. We would like to see more momentum there. So that's happening, but we'd like to see more momentum on that front. When we look at the use of energy and where it happens, not surprisingly, still most of that is in the radio access network. The data centers are about 10%, and then you've got sort of fleet and property, campuses, et cetera, accounting for the rest. 2 points I'd make about this. That is not going to stay like that for very long. As AI comes into play, the focal point for energy usage is going to be in the data centers. You already see that from AWS, from Microsoft, from Google, Alibaba, et cetera, who are having to engineer completely new power solutions. The mobile operators will be no different. And as you start to drive more GPU as a service, more inference, leveraging your data center capacity, that's going to put pressure on energy. So I would expect to see that pie chart change over time. The question is, how do you get ahead of that curve? What can you do to get ahead of that curve? Towers. We cover a number of metrics on the tower front, and these are a selection of them. Again, benchmarking some of the biggest towercos in the world about how they shake out here. PUE is the number one. That's a sort of measure of power usage effectiveness. Essentially, it's how efficient can you run your operation. And you want to get that number as close to 1 as possible. So when you look at these numbers, you sort of have variations overall, but you do see that kind of regional strata split. There's a lot of interesting reasons. I think certainly when I talk to Akis and Ravi in the tower panel, we'll get into that. Tenancy per site. So this is how many operators are actually situating their equipment on a given tower. And we track that whether it's 1, 2, or 3. And then actually most are still single tenants, over half. You get down into the other multi-tenancy, and that's interesting because the more multi-tenancy you have, the greater the scope for energy efficiencies. And so we're going to talk about energy as a service models. We're going to talk about power as a service. That's a number we want to track, and we want to see that move towards more multi-tenant models. Last but not least, what are the sites equipped with in terms of their own power source? We track this for the mobile operators, but this is, and these don't add up to 100 because you can have multi-energy distribution, but everybody's got batteries, about half have diesel, but then, again, this on-site renewables, it's still super low. Only about 10% of the sites we're tracking have renewables hooked up to those towers. That's both an opportunity and a challenge. It's a challenge because when you move to renewables, obviously you decarbonize. It's a more sustainable approach. It's a challenge because sometimes access to those is hard, particularly when you're in off-grid areas and you have to engineer, for example, new renewable mini-grids or solar farms that didn't exist before. So all of those are things we're looking at. So that's just out there to give you a flavor. As I say, that report is on our website, GSMAintelligence.com. We are going to be carrying this forward. Of course we are, because it's very important to track. There's a lot of demand for it. What can we expect this coming year? Well, we're going to add more metrics. We're going to bring in AI to the modeling to help give more predictive analytics. We're going to go deeper on the tower front, and we're going to make this digital so that there's a real complementarity to how we look at sort of green indexes for telco sustainability progress more broadly. So that's what's going to happen there. Lots of interest. If you represent an operator or towerco that's not already involved, we'd very much love to have you. So please get in touch with us. Last, before I turn it over to Emmanuel in the first panel, this is a related report that I just wanted to give a brief shameless plug for here. This is the enablement effect. That means how much connectivity can help other industries decarbonize. And what is that as a multiple of what the telco emissions are themselves? We put out this report, lots of interesting calculations. Take a picture of the QR. Again, that's free to access. I bring it up here just because it's directly relevant to this conversation that we're having. But you didn't come here to just listen to me talk about insights. Hopefully that's just whet the appetite, but really we want to hear from leaders. So, Emmanuel, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce our first panel.
And I think it's time for start the first panel discussion. So I would like to invite our panelists to the stage. Just want to let you know, I think it's a very unique opportunity to have a vendor and network operators and have a real cross-industry discussion on energy efficiency. Not just because we organized this panel, but I think also it's very interesting to have a discussion with members in the industry. And I think the first question for me is please, could you please introduce yourself in shortly? What are you doing? What organization are you coming from? And what are you responsible for? We can start with Devesh.
Awesome. Thanks. So I'm Devesh Gautam, based in Tokyo. I'm representing Rakuten Symphony. I'm heading the global solution architecture for Rakuten Symphony and RMI. We are definitely working on the energy efficiency and sustainability. That is the prime focus area for us. So let's go through for the discussion and share our ideas.
Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. Good to see you, so many faces. So I'm Attila Horváth from Deutsche Telekom, and I'm leading the energy efficiency and sustainability innovation efforts at group level. I'm based in Bonn, Germany. I'm a happy father of 3 small kids, and I'm really looking forward to the nice discussion here. Thanks for the invitation.
Thanks, Attila.
Hello, everyone. My name is Eko Tilu. And first of all, thank you for having Ericsson back to the panel again for this year. And we have joined this panel for 2 years, so it's very excited to be back. And I am leading the sustainability marketing in Ericsson, based in Sweden. And it's very inspiring to see this report is coming out again, bring all the insights across the industry, how we can understand where we are and what we can improve along this journey. So I'm very excited to be here and having this section with all the other panelists. Thank you.
Thanks, Eko.
Good morning, everyone. Same for me, privileged to be back here and share the views. One of my main responsibilities is energy performance in Vodafone Group for both Europe and Africa. I'm based here in Madrid and look forward to the discussion to be as interactive as possible.
Thanks, Kiri. So basically we have Rakuten Mobile, Deutsche Telekom, Ericsson, and Vodafone on the table, and we had a great presentation on the past and the historical data of energy efficiency. I would like to ask you that very quickly. Can you summarize in 1 or 2 sentences what is the most innovative solution from your side to improve energy efficiency? What are you currently focused on in the next 1-2 years to make those numbers better?
Yeah, thanks for asking this question. I think it's very important to set what we are focusing and what's coming next actually. So Rakuten's Mobile and Rakuten Symphony is always an innovator in terms of what we can do better and democratize the mobile network in the better way. And when we started this, there were a few fundamentals we started, and those fundamentals were basically on the virtualization, telemetry, the data which we can receive from all the components, be it passive or active elements from the network. Third one was how we can do the automation and AI could be enabled from the day zero. And based on all these 3, the idea was how much we can enable our customers and ourselves to operate our network by ourselves. So self-managed network enable the people and the customer by themselves to run their network and achieve all the maximum possibilities. So these are our fundamentals, and that's how these open telemetries and solutioning on the virtualization is actually enabling us to achieve the maximum energy efficiencies in our network.
It's pretty wide coverage. Thanks, Devesh.
Yeah, Devesh, if I may add on this, so you mentioned really good points on this. So we've come a long way already on this energy efficiency measures in all the technological domains. And I was just teasing Emmanuel right before the panel that we are now started to look into load adaptability to show what are the areas in which our network's consumption is not adapting to the traffic itself. There are some areas in which we are better than the others. As you all know, I think that there is no silver bullet for energy efficiency for our whole network. So we need to dig deep, understand where are the opportunities still for us, and use AI as in the past we had no tools, or the conventional tools were not good enough to overcome these efficiency problems.
I would like to just build on what you mentioned, AI. I think this is a trend definitely the industry is seeing move forward. But we do focus definitely will be on the AI automation, also intent-driven automation. But I want to maybe zoom out a bit to add a bit from the vendor point of view. What we see is actually the importance of accelerating, transforming the traffic from 4G to 5G standalone. This is a very critical technology foundation that's going to enabling the modernization, also all the AI features, and also intent-driven for automations. What we have seen across the global deployments is like 5G is 30% more energy efficient than 4G. And with the massive MIMO, that's even going to be 10 times more energy efficient per bit. So this is really critical for anything we want to advance the next steps in terms of the energy efficiency, and also building this more automated, more orchestrated. So that's number one. And then number two, that we are also accelerating the modernization of the hardware with the operators across the world. So we are seeing with the latest launch, for example, we just did a couple of weeks ago, that is going to give you 44% more energy savings, and also about 65% of the embodied carbon reduction. And on top of that, we do see the AI and intent-driven automation is enhancing this effect. So I think these are the three major aspects that we are seeing going to helping our CSP customer and also the industry to moving forward to make the whole thing more energy efficient. So we do have some new releases and new launches. Our automation 5G advanced boost carrier sleep is going to be commercially available in Q2, and also we are having more energy orchestration, performance orchestration, our apps that will also be available by the end of 2026. So we are moving this forward with our distributed and centralized automations along with the rest of our customers. And I think Vodafone is some part of this 5G advanced journey with us.
Yes, it is. Yes, thank you. So, very interesting topic and discussion. I would like to highlight three things. One is when it comes to 5G and the massive MIMO, we need to ensure that when we have low traffic or ideal traffic, doesn't consume. And this is when we introduce the concept 0 bit, 0 watt. So when there is no traffic, we don't want to consume anything. And that was a journey. We worked together as an industry with our partners and operators together to make it happen. And we have it today available. And what we now really work is how to make the reactivation time as low as possible. So we gone within seconds, like less than 10 seconds, to be able to reactivate the PA. And that concept has to be from the start of 6G. So we will not go anymore to deploy something new on massive MIMO on 6G that consumes when we don't have traffic. That's the first area. Second, AI and automation. So the challenge we had with the energy-saving features of carrier switch on and off was that there was always a balance between performance and energy savings. So how do you tune these features? To what extent? What are the thresholds? Now AI came into the SON and SMO layer, and that does that parameterization real time, adaptable for you, so you don't have to worry. And this is where we start now to see some additional savings, 5 to 10%. And third area, and that's my favorite, is the digitalization of the energy management. So basically is where you start building your AI agents on top on a digital platform, where you can have use cases like anomaly detection, energy forecasting, energy procurement. And this is a lot of work and a lot of focus goes at the moment. We're doing several self-development. I'm sure Deutsche Telekom, Rakuten, you are also doing that area. It's the new thing that will give us, a horizon for further energy savings in the future.
Manuel, if I may add on this, because you just touched on a very valid point, that we are introducing energy management in our network. And I know the panel is about energy efficiency, but so to become flexible with our consumption. But we should not forget about the flexible energy procurement, so to become an active on the energy market. And as we are in a luxury situation that we have our energy asset distributed, to become active on the market and try to monetize our assets. So hand in hand, this flexibility on the consumption goes along with the flexibility on the procurement side.
Great point.
Yeah, so just to add that, I think renewable energy is one of the key areas, like you just said. Thanks for bringing this up. You have not added in your study the Japan market. I request, please.
You're more than welcome to join to the project.
Yeah. So, but renewable energy is one of the key areas and focus areas for the Rakuten as well. Over the year of last 3 or 4 years, we worked on orchestration, AI-enabled orchestration and intent platform, which is covering all these areas. It's just not including the mobile network functions. It does include server, infras, what is available and deployed in the tower as well, including battery and rectifiers, how those telemetries we can consume from the data layers, and then how we can create the intent-based, used AI, intent-based algorithm and policies, and we can enable maximum energy. I would proudly like to share that because of all this, in very short period of time, very speedy thing which we have achieved, TM Forum certified energy automation level 4 recently, and we announced it yesterday. We are currently achieving at minimum level 20% energy efficiency in Rakuten mobile network, and we are extending this solution and our vision with our customers as well in Germany and few other areas. So this is the holistic view about including the inclusivity about the renewable energy as well. Our target in Rakuten solution to integrate renewable energy as much as possible along with automation as well, how you can switch automatically what is best possible and what is required at that particular time to enable your infra and make it available for the end customer.
I fully agree. I think we all come into the agreement like this intent-driven automation is going to give us this additional energy efficient gains. But building on what you said, I think we are all under the challenge to see how this energy performance and the user experience could come together. And that is only possible from our vendor point of view with the AI and intent-driven automation. And this anchors very well from what the global deployment we have seen with the different kinds of automation models, actually. The real-time models, now we have this Ericsson automated energy saver that you say you have zero impact on the user experience. And built on that, you just turn it on, you get up to 7.4 energy savings, and you have this guaranteed user experience. So this is a very significant benefit to the CSPs. As you mentioned, this is a key challenge. And we do then combine this with the centralized automation automation, and that gives you the possibility to scale the automation across thousands of the sets that you are managing. So we have seen these global practices have delivered these significant results, and with this combination, what is more important is that we are supporting the CSP to reduce the OPEX and also optimize the return of investment as well, because then you would have the flexibility to choose which model you to implement on which layer of the network and where your computer needs adapt to the AI workloads and so on. That we are seeing this is going also to search in the future of the industry. So I think we are all seeing the common challenges, and we are trying to coming up an industry-wide solution that would benefit all of us here.
Thank you all great answers. And I was expecting to hear AI from all of you, but now we can see that energy management is usually a very decision-intensive topic. And if you want to make millions of decisions efficiently, you probably need to use AI and these kind of network orchestration methods. So I think it's great to hear. My next topic I really wanted to ask you when we set up this panel is about a bit of a controversial topic, because when we're talking about energy efficiency, it's kind of like easy to understand that it's obviously more the merrier. And most of the topics are relatively straightforward. But if I ask about Open RAN and the energy efficiency of the Open RAN, we can see the two end of the scale. Some of the vendors or some of the operators saying that it's clearly less energy efficient, and someone is swearing that it's way more energy efficient than the traditional proprietary architecture. So I would like to ask you, each of you, first of all, is it less or more energy efficient or the same, and why? And we can maybe start here from here.
I would like to start this. So to your point, when you say when we ask operators, I think the first thing is to ask operators who are deploying Open RAN, not those that are not deploying Open RAN, because there can be different views and opinions, and the other thing are the facts. Okay, so we are introducing Open RAN. We're deploying Open RAN in Germany with several strategic partners. When you see what the radio side is consuming, so approximately 80% is consumption from the radio units. The rest 20% is from the baseband processing. Okay, on the radio units, there is no difference. Basically, the consumption of the radio units for Open RAN, it's exactly the same, or it's even better. It's down to supplier performance, right? So it could be Ericsson versus Nokia or Samsung or Huawei. Then the best supplier that has best digital distortion, MPA efficiency, and how it is the operating point for low load or high load, that has nothing to do with Open RAN. Yep. So on radios, the consumption on Open RAN is the same. It only depends on which supplier and what is the best out in the market. When it comes to baseband, but in Open RAN, that's disaggregated. It's all on a cloud infrastructure on COTS hardware. Then at the moment, it's not there on par. There is approximately 10 to 15%, but things are changing there. Why? Because first of all, you need to hit single server configuration on a site. You cannot have two servers for the same site for, say, handling massive MIMO. Once you are down a single server configuration, then power consumption is pretty competitive and very, very good compared to traditional RAN. And then this is now where the AI is coming into the computing. And you can have AI based on acceleration card like the Intel servers, or you can have AI based on compute, GPU compute from NVIDIA now. We've seen the partnership with Nokia. So the AI that is coming into the compute will drive further savings on the baseband, and then overall you will see over time that consumption will get even better than traditional baseband consumption. But I said that is only the 20% of the total. So and overall, the site at the moment we are measuring on field approximately 5 to 6% better than the legacy hardware that we.
So it's a strong yes.
Yes.
Echo?
Yeah, so for sure, Open RAN can be energy efficient, but as you said, the majority of the energy consumption comes from the RAN side. So I think what makes the difference is a combination of multiple factors. That first is the high-performing radio that delivers the data, more data per bit. And the second in the energy efficient RAN compute, tuned for micro sleep and also C-speed, that we collaborate with the chip center vendors like Intel, and Apple. And then the third, as you mentioned, this intent-based AI-driven automation that's going to give this additional energy efficient gains. And last but not least, we open this horizontally to the R apps to make this energy efficient innovation available across the network. So I think it's a more holistic approach that we need to take here. And from our experience with the global deployment, for example, we empower the next generation of AT&T Open RAN, Cloud RAN, and committed to a energy efficient practices and also allocating the radio resources in a more energy efficient way. So I think we are on a journey, and we are from a vendor point of view, we are making sure like our radios, our RAN compute baseband is delivered in the most energy efficient.
And can you say yes or no for this question from your perspective?
I would say we are focusing on what we are best at, which is the network radio baseband part, that we make sure like this is building the most energy efficient foundation for what is going to happen on top of it.
Put this down as a maybe. Attila, Deutsche Telekom?
So we've come a long way with this Orange journey, and I'm really happy because all of you, the companies that you are representing, we are together in this Orange standardization from the very beginning. That's why we put a big bet on Oran. DT is sharing the Oran Alliance. I'm co-chairing the sustainability focus group of Oran Alliance. And to sum it up maybe in one sentence, we've come a long way, still a lot to do. To be honest. So, but we are committed, and we committed to install thousands of sites, Oran, especially in Germany. And I see a huge development, especially on the underlying hardware from year to year on energy efficiency. We have a lab, established a lab in Berlin for test and integration. So we are really much pushing for that. So to answer your direct, your question, our goal is not just to meet the efficiency, but even overtake. And soon it will be a yes.
Okay, because you guys have like 10, 11 networks, many of trying Open RAN. So I would put like, you would like to, yes.
Exactly.
Okay. Devesh?
Yeah, so very interesting question. I want to elaborate more this. So the question related to Open RAN is more energy efficient rather to traditional or not. It's not only the question. If you see the perspective, this particular question in two parts. What we can achieve now and what's lying in the future with this disaggregated model of Open RAN. So the window of opportunity with disaggregated model, when we are talking about what's coming next, 5G advanced, 6G, to achieve the more efficiencies, if you are having a better window, you can innovate more, you can achieve more. So I like your the last comment that we can achieve more. Yes, how you can achieve more when you have a better window to innovate, right? And if I explain it a little bit in a detailed way, so what is this window I'm talking about? So there is a RU, radio unit, there is a baseband. That baseband also you can disaggregate further, and you can achieve it more energy efficiency. Plus, as we grow further in the tower companies, along with the tower companies, when they start deploying the edge compute at the site, servers like hardened server, and they can run their application along with RAN, the same hardware can run both edge compute and the RAN together. How you are going to inherit the GPU-based use cases and all, these things will come along and you can achieve more energy efficiencies. And obviously the RAN is the major focus area. I'll just summarize. So in 1 minute. So RAN is obviously a major energy consumption area, right? 80% of it is coming from that side. And everybody needs to, focus more on the RAN side, how we can efficiently achieve this RAN.
So I think it's also maybe I would say as far as I could hear you say that
No,
it opens,
I'm definitely saying it's more energy efficient to answer your direct question.
but it
because
opens more doors.
yeah,
even
so
further.
definitely, because the scope is more. Scope is more to achieve.
Yeah.
It definitely is going to help, and it's not in theory. I just announced it. We have achieved 20% energy efficiency with speed in last 2.5 years with our energy orchestrator platform.
Thank you. So overall, I think we have 2 yes and 2 maybe it will be even more answers. And unfortunately, I could continue this conversation for 4 hours, but we have a limited time. So as closing down, can you give one sentence here as a message or the key takeaway for you, just in a short sentence before we close down this panel? Any of you can start, like the key takeaway in one short sentence?
So we are facing the same challenges. We are solving the same problems. I do believe that even in the audience, you face the same challenges in your countries. So let's not reinvent the wheel. Team up together and form alliances, to solve the challenges together. That's my...
Form alliances and partnerships. Yes. Thanks, Attila.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. So from my side, I think closing announcement is again be part of these initiatives which we are running along with the TM Forum and Energy Efficiency. Would like to work along with all the partners, that is, and the customers as well. That is really, really important, and achieve the same targets which we are focusing on from the renewable energy and the AI and automation part which we can do. Yes.
Echo, Kiri?
Yeah, definitely. So I think we are on a journey together, and we need to look at the energy efficiency not like an isolated atom, and actually we need to also start tracking the user experience. And we see all these possible, like powered by 5G standalone and also AI and intangible automation. So I'm very looking forward to the future. And we are showing all these great showcases with the references across world, including Vodafone, and also our comprehensive portfolio supporting the industry. So welcome to visit our Ericsson booth if you are leaving this panel later.
Yes, thank you. Just a remark on the previous question to say that in a few years from now, the question of is Open RAN more efficient compared to traditional RAN will be irrelevant, because Open RAN vRAN will be the winning architecture for the next 10 years. So there will not be any more conventional RAN.
We can invite some other vendors, maybe. they can maybe disagree next year.
Yes, closing remark. I think automation, AI, and digitalization, these 3 things together give a full range of opportunities for innovation, not only energy, anywhere. It's a transformation that's happening in our networks, and energy orchestration and energy management is the area where we put immediate focus, because it allows us to be more efficient. And as I said, we have a showcase in the next 2 hours in Ericsson booth where we show the automation layer with energy management. So if you don't have anything booked, feel free to come.
Go there.
Thank you so much, everyone. Very appreciate. I think it was a very great opportunity to have you all and sharing your insights. We hand-selected you to be in this panel, so it was I would love to continue this, but unfortunately, we have limited time. So thanks again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
And while we leaving, as mentioned, the project is open for other network operators and towercos to join. So feel free to reach us out, and we would love to welcome you in the project. As you mentioned, importance of partnerships. You're more than welcome with Rakuten Mobile to join, and everyone else. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Emmanuel. We are going to get straight up to our second panel with tower companies. So Akis, please come on up, and Ravi, and grab a seat. All right. Guys, we've talked about when we flashed up the results of how this is all playing. We've talked about it from the operator and vendor perspective, but I really want to get into the tower angle now, because this is we talked about this last year, but it's the first year we've had the explicit data to track this. And so, first question, and I asked this in our previous event on a different topic, but is sort of, and Ravi, maybe I'll come to you first. Looking back to the last 12 months from Helios' perspective, like, what's been the biggest thing you guys have done to move the dial forward on energy?
Thanks, Tim. Great to be here, everyone. And first and foremost, congratulations on this report. Proud to have been part of it through Helios. But I think this is the kind of reports and data we need when we try to drive policy change in markets, which is one of the big focus areas for me. Last 12 months, I guess just to give some context, bulk of my work is in Africa. Helios Towers is in 8 countries in Africa. So power challenges are very different for us. It's a part of the world where 600 million people don't have access to energy. That's half of the population. And a third of our base stations are in areas with no grid or bad grid. So it's that dynamic which shapes what power and sustainability is for us as a challenge. In the past 12 months, I think past year, even beyond, a lot of the focus was on guaranteeing power uptime and high energy costs. I think the discussion now has moved more towards, how do we design smarter energy systems and deploy more renewables to reduce diesel consumption. So that's been where a lot of the discussion has shifted. And for us, that's meant deploying more hybrid sites with solar and battery, but also deploying tools, AI tools in particular, which you mentioned, which helped us optimize time or for diesel generators, monitor battery health, and also switch between renewable energy sources on our sites. So all of these things have helped us drive efficiency at sites. And this is very much where we see the conversation moving now with our customers.
And we're going to come back to AI and some of the other mechanisms for improving energy. But Aki's Vantage is much more of a European-centric towerco with a very, very wide footprint. How do you, last 12 months, what's been the biggest innovation that you guys have brought in on energy efficiency?
Sure. Maybe before I start, just to make a comment on where we see the shift of the industry. So in the past years, a lot was about the cost item, as you mentioned, and that was, let's say, somehow bettered off because of the improved prices in gas and oil. But now we might see a second wave. However, for the last year, that discussion was less of a core issue for our customers. What we saw is opening up the discussion around resilience. So this is a major industry change in Europe. There are 2 major drivers so far. The first one is about the stability of the grid, which could be related to malicious attacks or inherent limitations of the system, which could lead to blackouts. And the second one is the impact of extreme weather events. So these are 2 major factors that are making the whole industry and our customers to think about the backup that they need in order to maintain their operations. So this has been a key change, and we have jumped in to help our customers with identifying solutions on how we can expand that battery backup and how we can make it in an economic way as well. What's important is also to consider the multi-tenancy aspect and to consider how we can make it efficient by sharing potentially that backup and controlling how much is allocated to each customer based on the commercial models that we have with them. When it comes to your point around energy efficiency specifically, the key products we are offering to our customers relate to improving the passive infrastructure that we operate, which is primarily the rectifiers, which is the conversion of AC to DC to power the radio equipment, and the cooling systems. So I would say these are the 2 key areas where we're driving investment and we're helping our customers to overall reduce their energy costs.
One thing that's clear is when we track the tower sector, there is an inexorable rise in the number of, towers that are being serviced for the operators by towercos. think it's something like 70% worldwide. I mean, don't quote me on that, but it's close to, and it's rising every year. So, Ravi, coming back to you, I mean, when you look at solutions to help both Helios and your tenants, lower their energy bill and improve their energy efficiency, what would you say are the sort of top 2 or 3 that are in view right now, and how much of your tenants, are looking to you for advice on how to do that versus sort of, proffering solutions themselves?
Yeah, and I think what's interesting here is, for tower companies like ours, we take full responsibility for the power for our customers. So any incentive we have to reduce diesel consumption not only helps the bottom line, but also helps us and our customers meet their carbon targets. We're scope free for them and one of their largest providers. But I think the key is trying to find ways. I mean, we both have roles to play here. So as a towerco, you take responsibility for power. So for us, it's whatever we can do to reduce diesel consumption. So whether it's connecting sites to grids, which is the optimal way for us to reduce our diesel consumption, where the grid is available, of course. Then it's deploying solar and battery solutions at sites, which have become increasingly prevalent for the industry, and costs have come down as well considerably. So a combination of reduced cost efficiency means you're seeing more of these solutions being deployed. AI tools I mentioned, similarly IoT and even geospatial tools. So when we're looking at things like climate resilience, you can map sites which are in areas which are more prone to adverse weather conditions. So by using geospatial tools, you can work out whether you need to reinforce some sites or avoid areas completely. And you can advise your customers, the operators accordingly on that, on these climate risks. So these tools are having a real impact on what we're doing as a business. And then I guess with our customers, focus for them is really on consumption and site load, right? So, that's all driven by data demand. So I think key here is really it's about partnership. It's less about towerco efficiency versus operator efficiency. It's almost looking at it together as site efficiency. How can we optimize a site to meet the needs of our customers, and then we take responsible for that passive energy management as well.
Yeah, no, that's and I think the power as a service, the energy as a service model is getting a lot more interest from the operators. It's simplified, it's easy, it's kind of wrapped in, and if it ultimately adds up to better energy efficiency and lower cost, that's a good thing, and that's why we want to track this. Aki's coming back to you. I mean, I want to just get into sort of the monetization aspect of this and how you can benefit at a business level from smarter energy management. I think I saw in the news this week, Vantage has partnered with Elisa on some virtual power VPP, and we're looked at just by VPP just quickly for everybody is sort of a way of using on-site batteries to help load balancing and potentially drive revenue through sale back to the grid. But talk us through that example and what that means for Vantage and how you view the sort of monetization angle.
Sure. So as I mentioned, we are looking, there is a demand from our customers to increase their battery backup and the resilience of their site. So we are looking on cost-effective ways that we can do that. Because of the energy industry, the prices in the electricity market are quite volatile. So that means that there is an arbitrage opportunity. So it could be an opportunity to use that arbitrage opportunity to lower the overall investment costs for additional backup requirements for our customers. So that's the angle we are coming from. So exploring opportunities on how we can create some cost savings for our customers, or even potentially some revenue from services to the grid, while at the same time making sure that we can increase the resilience for our customers. I think another aspect that we are also looking is, as towercos, we are also building new sites for our customers. One of the big bottlenecks for creating new sites in Europe, it's around delivering the grid connections. So there are now sites that we're delivering for our customers in very remote areas, which face very long lead times from the grid operators. We are doing the best we can to engage both with the regulators, the utility companies, to find ways to improve these times, and many times the costs as well, because in many times they could be prohibitive for setting up new sites. As a bridge to delivering that grid connection, we are also offering hybrid solutions. So this is the combination of a generator plus batteries plus solar in most cases where it makes sense, in order to bridge the gap between building a new site until the grid arrives to the site. So that's another area that we are actively exploring in order to help our customers to meet their rollout obligation and coverage obligations that they have in many countries.
Yeah. Ravi, coming back, I mean, you talked about renewables. We talked about renewables in the opening presentation and in the research. Helios has a big footprint across Africa. Africa, is very still diesel dependent. In some countries, the data suggests it's 75% of the energy used. We talk to operators who say that this is crippling us, it's killing us, we've got to get off this. We've looked at sort of renewable mini grids and other solutions. I wonder, can you give some examples of the way forward there? You think about upping the renewables, availability in Africa, and how the best ways for doing that, and how you can play a role, how towercos can play a role.
Sure, and towercos do have an important role to play there. I mean, as I mentioned, costs for these solutions have come down considerably, but often deploying them is not so easy. There's this assumption that, sun always shines in Africa. It doesn't. Sometimes you get more sun in my home country, London, which hard to believe, but it's true. We've got countries like the DRC, one of our largest markets, very high growth. But across the 3,000 or so sites we have in the country, we have average grid time of 6 to 7 hours. And that's across a huge portfolio, which means we burn a lot of diesel in a country like that. The grid, ironically, is one of the cleanest in the world. I think 6th or 7th cleanest in the world and second in Africa. Yet it's only available in 20% of the country. So the more rural you go and deep rural you go, you have to use diesel more as a necessity, of course, not a preference. But I think through this power as a service model, what it's been able to help operators with is, I think, expand more in rural areas when traditionally this wasn't much of an option. So I think with the advance of these technologies, the kind I've described, there's been ways we've been able to bring the cost down, still not to the level we would want or necessarily our customers, but it has made it more effective when you've got, an infrastructure provider responsible for tower and power. I mean, I say to a lot of people, we're as much a power company as a tower company in Africa, because that's, for us, even a lot of, for our rural sites, OPEX on those can be as much as 40%, and that's predominantly down to diesel usage, which is considerable. I think there's another opportunity here, and building on, something Anastasios was saying. You talked about mini grids, Tim, and I think this is where towercos can play a key role in being an anchor tenant for not just mini grids, but even national utility companies. So enabling them to expand in areas, expand the grid in areas where there's also no connectivity. Because you can expand the grid, have someone like a towerco who consumes a lot of power. It's a stable amount of power, and a highly credit-worthy off-taker who you could partner with to de-risk that investment right from the outset. And any excess power you produce off the back of that can be used to power schools, businesses, hospitals in the area. So this is a model we've been trying to work closely with in a lot of our markets. Tanzania is a very good example where we've partnered with TANESCO, who's the national state utility provider, and the USF there. And we've been able for them to come together and focus on planning grid expansion and connectivity together, which is something you don't see a lot of. You don't see telecoms regulators speaking to energy regulators to develop infrastructure together. Now this, for me, is, I think potentially something like this could be a game changer. There's been a lot of studies on it conducted by the likes of the IFC, which show this model is viable. But I think it needs not just someone from private sector telling government departments what to do, but this impetus needs to come from government and form part of their national policy priorities for development.
Yeah, and you raise a very good point about integrating telco policy with energy policy. I think that the M300 initiative in Africa is a very good example of that. We got about 5 minutes left, and actually I want to come back to you because AI plays such a role here. We know that it is already driving up energy uses, particularly for the hyperscalers in the data center. But I'm actually interested in the other side of the coin about how it can help energy. From a tower perspective, where do you, and looking ahead to the next 12 months, maybe even longer than that, 2 years, how best can a tower co and their tenants use AI to drive down energy or improve efficiency?
So in order to use AI, you need to have access to data. So that's the foundation. I think in the previous panel also Kiri mentioned that we need to digitize our infrastructure. So that's the first step. So as Vantage Towers, we have a huge program for metering and remote monitoring of our sites and our smart devices on the site. So that's the foundation. So building on that, then that's where the AI comes in. So what we are looking, and we have developed use cases around, again, anomaly detection, which help us using the metric that we are using in the report, by the way, the PUE, in order to identify where we have inefficiencies or inconsistent data that do not make sense. So these such sites are being flagged. And also it helps us to also better manage electricity bills. So we are having to manage energy costs for thousands of sites. So automating the bill validations, bill controls, and then distribution of those costs back to our tenants is one of the key use cases for AI in the short term for us. But again, all that, it's only possible if you start by building the foundations and then start enhancing the use cases. Another area that we see opportunity is around the optimization in real time, but I would say that this comes at a later stage. And this is more about the operation of hybrid systems where a lot of optimization is needed, and ideally in real time, so that you make the most out of the renewable generation that is produced on the site.
Ravi, your perspective on that, about how you can use AI to the good for energy over the next 12 months and where that fits in with the rest of the toolkit?
Yeah, and very much building on what Anastasios said, for us, AI tools, we're deploying them more and more across our portfolio, and areas where we've seen it make a noticeable difference, and on top of some of the things you've said, switching between power sources, it's been very good, so, and this happens in real time, where you've got hybrid systems, knowing when to switch from, grid to solar to battery, and then diesel as a last resort. These systems have been trained to improve the switching process for us, and again in real time. So that's been very useful. Predictive maintenance is another area it's been good. So we have a lot of equipment at sites, power equipment, and that equipment goes down. So we've found that with some of the tools we use, they've been able to spot problems in the system before they arise. So instead of seeing a hybrid system collapse at a site and you're running diesel straight away, we can spot these trends. And again, it's, like you say, as good as the data you put in, and which, in Africa is an even bigger challenge. But these tools are learning from, what we're putting in and how our business runs to help us become more efficient. And I think this is now, for us going forward, it's going to be a key part of our carbon reduction strategy.
That's fantastic answers from both of you. I've got one more question, and it has to do with sort of numbers and measurements and aligning around metrics. That's sort of the reason why we've started this benchmark, is to get people coalesced around a common set of metrics. I'm just wondering from each of you, and briefly, because we are at the end of our session, but how important is it that the industry uses common metrics to track progress? And do you think with this benchmark we've got the right ones, or are there others that we should be adding going forward? Maybe Aki, starting with you.
Sure. I think the PUE, the power usage effectiveness, it's a metric that between the towercos, I think we all agree that it's a key one to pay attention and to properly track. I think what we need to flesh out more is how passive infrastructure sharing could help optimize that, because there could be opportunities to do that by increasing that sharing of the cooling of the power supply units, and potentially not on energy efficiency, but on resilient purposes around the battery backup, and in general the backup available for the site, potentially as a hybrid between batteries and a standby generator. So I would say that through sorry, I missed my train of thought.
Do you want us to come back to you?
Sorry, on the metrics again. So PUE for sure, it's a key one for us to track, and I think we need to enhance it or normalize it somehow, taking into account weather patterns, specifics in its region, because then we can get more insights on how well we are performing, and it would help us. It's somehow a competition as well, so it would help us to get better and better on that domain, and at the end of the day, it's the customers that we will see the ultimate benefits of this exercise.
What about from you, Ravi?
Yeah, very little to add to that. And I think this idea of building in the co-location factor in there, which for us is what drives growth in addition to new sites, is important. But having a metric which operators and towercos can use to benchmark efficiency is great. And the fact that GSMA is behind this and backing this, I think, can help us see it being adopted more widely by everyone. So we're all speaking the same language and tracking performance against the same energy efficiency benchmark.
Well, that's why we're here. As I always say, I mean, this is a fascinating conversation. We could keep going, but as ever, we have limited time. So I got a call time there. But guys, thank you so much for sharing your insights. And thank you. That brings us to the end of our session for the Energy and Tower Benchmark launch. The report is live on our website, GSMAintelligence.com. It is free to access. You can get it. Make use of it. And as Emmanuel said, I just want to echo, if you want to get involved, let us know. If you're an operator, if you're a towerco, we want to broaden out the base of this. We're at 20% market share. I'd love to get that doubled next year. And we really want to just continue making inroads with this evidence base. But thank you for giving us your time, for staying with us. And guys, thank you so much again for being here.
Same.